Hello my dear friends, and welcome back to another wonderful Star Wars video. It's been a hot minute since the last time we spoke about my favourite Star Wars animated TV show, Star Wars Rebels. But to kick off the new month, I've got a treat for you. If you've been watching my channel for a few years, you guys know I love doing Easter egg videos. You know, I do a lot of news updates, I do a lot of breakdowns, but my absolute favourite type of content to make is Easter egg videos. And today we're diving into the best season of Star Wars Rebels, Season 4. One of my most favourite episodes, Episode 13, The World Between Worlds. The legacy of the story and the characters of Star Wars Rebels have grown beyond Dave Filoni's animated show. We've seen them crop up across various media, Ahsoka being the most renowned, but within the 4 seasons of Rebels there are some really interesting secrets, and today we're covering one I've not seen mentioned in many places. So, let me set the scene. The World Between Worlds arc, if you want to call it that, saw the introduction of a mysterious Ferris Hayden, a Palpatine loyalist, who served Darth Sidious as an advisor, and while he was not Force-sensitive, he was a scholar and expert of Jedi and Sith history, collecting various artifacts from around the galaxy. The minister was dispatched to oversee the excavation operations and unlock the secrets behind the entrance of the World Between Worlds. During the episode, Ezra Bridger enters the portal, but back at the Imperial Command Center at the excavation camp, Sabine Wren is being questioned by Ferris so that she might help him enter the Jedi Temple, but she resists. He demands to know how Sabine and Ezra managed to open the portal in the first place. Sabine quips that it's simply because she's smarter than him, but during this taunt, did you know, behind Sabine, if you look very closely and brighten the screen, there is the ghost of an iktoi Jedi. This is super creepy, and the first time I saw it mentioned I thought, surely this is a joke. Surely a Star Wars fan edited this, but they didn't. It's a very deliberate Easter egg. There are 2 theories. The first is that this is the same corpse that Ezra and Kanan came across at the Lothal Temple in Season 1. The design is very similar, the same species as Saesee Tiin. This is clearly just an Easter egg, just a Jedi skeleton artifact as part of Hayden's collection, probably when the Empire excavated the Lothal Jedi Temple, but it's never really been addressed. Saesee Tiin of course died at the hands of Palpatine in Revenge of the Sith, and while there is very little evidence beyond mere conjecture that this is supposed to be him, Hayden tells Sabine that some of the paintings and artifacts were found on Coruscant. Again, it's just an Easter egg, but a truly fascinating one at that. Many of the artifacts found in Hayden's collection were found on both Lothal and Coruscant. In the case of this piece, it's not a ghost, it's a skeleton from the Lothal Temple which the Empire desecrated, a Jedi treasure. As we see later in the episode, it's discovered that Palpatine has found a way to reach the World Between Worlds through Sith sorcery. Our heroes Ezra and Ahsoka see the Emperor looking at them through the same portal where they saw Kanan's last stand. Palpatine gloats that Ahsoka and Ezra are at last his, as he cackles with laughter. It's one of my favourite episodes of the entirety of Star Wars Rebels. Every time we see Palpatine doing everything he can through himself or his minions to rule the galaxy, to have full control, those make for some of the most fascinating aspects of Star Wars television. And this Easter egg is certainly eyebrow-raising. I think Lothal is one of the most underrated planets in all of Star Wars, and yet, it makes up one of the most important locations in Star Wars Rebels, and now Ahsoka. The first time we're introduced to Lothal's Jedi Temple was in Season 1's episode, Path of the Jedi. From the outside, it just looks like a bunch of rock spires that dot Lothal's horizon, though in size, it certainly stood out. Once Kanan and Ezra worked together to use the Force to lift it, they gained access, but stepping inside was a very different experience. The interior once was a refined Jedi temple, respected and decorated with engravings, magnificent floors and pillars. But the first time we're introduced to it, many years after its glory, it's more like an abandoned, dusty cave with skeletons in it, still wearing their Jedi robes. The one Hayden possesses in his office is certainly one from the temple, unless, for whatever reason, after their slaughter in his office on Coruscant in 19 BBY, Palpatine kept the bodies of Kit Fisto, Agent Kolar, and in this case, Saesee Tiin. Pretty unlikely though. What's so fascinating though is that, as the show goes on, our perception of the importance of the temple changes. we start to see it as a mystical entity, especially when the mural is unveiled, depicting connections to the gods of Mortis. And in a very direct way, the Lothal temple might be gone, but the significance of the mural in the mythology Filoni has set up continues to be an enigma, an important plot point now adopted in the Mandoverse. But Star Wars Rebels is full of very fascinating Easter eggs apart from this one. In a previous video we spoke about the connections to Grogu, but another fun one is in the Twin Sons episode. Did you know little Luke running on Tatooine as old Obi-Wan watches was never really zoomed in on in the episode? But did you know the 3D animated model for Luke is actually just a young Ezra? Another really fun one is repurposing of Ralph McQuarrie artwork, C-3PO coming across another protocol droid that is just 3PO concept art for the original version. Even George Lucas's original version of older General Luke Skywalker was repurposed, this time for a random vendor on Lothal. Not to mention the design for the Lasat species is just a repurposed version of Chewbacca concept art. And speaking of Ralph McQuarrie, some of his original concept art for the planet of Lothal, is found in Thrawn's office. Here is one that I love talking about. In the Season 3 episode Iron Squadron, they use a YT-2400 light freighter, which is the same ship as Dash Rendar's the Outrider from Star Wars Legends. When the trailer for the season dropped, fans got so excited. Is this where Dash Rendar makes a jump to canon? No, only the ship. Here's one you might have missed. Did you notice Commander Grease helmet from Revenge of the Sith? That's the clone commander Yoda kills on Kashyyyk as he tried to execute Order 66. Somehow Grease helmet found its way to Thrawn. And finally, the concept of the bendu, the one in the middle, is inspired by two things: the expanded universe and George Lucas's original concepts. Long before Rebels was even a twinkle in the animator's eye, Lucas wrote a first draft for Star Wars, and in it, the Jedi bendu followed Ashla and faced off against the followers of Bogan, Ashla being the light and Bogan being the dark side. The earliest drafts of Lucas's movies refer to an organization known as the Jedi Bendu, described as the most fearless monks and warriors in the galaxy, and the personal bodyguards of the Emperor. Because these are ancient precursors to the Jedi Order that we know, we might see them in canon in James Mangold's movie. In Star Wars Rebels, however, the concept of Bendu is entirely different. He's a force entity all unto himself, neither light or dark, the one in the middle, an ancient force user who develops a friendship with Kanan and Ezra and warns Thrawn of his upcoming defeat. Some fans have argued the concept of bendu contradicts George Lucas's vision of light and dark, but Dave Filoni has defended it time and again. Those are just some of my favourite Easter eggs. Can you name some of your favourites? And did you enjoy this video? Share your thoughts on everything we spoke about in the comments down below. And if you enjoyed this video, my dear friends, please be sure to give me a big fat thumbs up, subscribe if you're new, check me out on socials and on Patreon, and I'll see you in the next video. May the Force be with you, always.